Hi, I'm Scott.
And I'm Amanda. And
We are the servants of Niko. All hail Niko. And today on Servants of Niko, we're going to talk about a Grand Prix driver. A very specific Grand Prix driver who had one of the shortest and weirdest careers. Now, have you ever heard of Josef Brazdil?
no.
No, not surprised. Most people haven't, because the internet has barely heard of him, which made this a little tricky. Now, first of all, I may have mispronounced his name. There's a lot of Czech and Slovakian names in this one, and I'm not likely to get any of them right. As I said, he's quite obscure, and unfortunately the internet, that would be Niko, the internet is not very good at agreeing on anything about him or his story, which is a bit of a problem. But anyway, right, so this story goes back to 1934.
I wasn't born then.
Well, that's reassuring. To the Czech Grand Prix, which has the delightful alternative name of the Maserati Okra. Yes, as I said, not going to be pronouncing these right. And yes, guy's name was Josef Brazdil. Now, you won't have heard of him. Now, have you heard of a guy called Tatsu Nuvolari?
No.
Not surprising either. But anyway, Tatsu Nuvolari was a truly great Grand Prix driver. He could be considered the Hamilton, the Vettel, Schumacher, the Senna, whatever driver you like, of the 1930s. Truly great driver. And in early September of 1934, at a different race, the Italian Grand Prix, he debuted a new car called the Maserati 6C34.
Oh, I've heard of Maserati.
You have? Good.
I have.
So they still exist. And yes, Maserati 6C34 debuted in the Italian Grand Prix, and a couple of weeks later, Maserati turned up at the Czech Grand Prix with two cars. Now, the first one was for Tatsu Nuvolari to be run by the works team. Second one for Josef Brazdil. So the second one was for Josef Brazdil. Ignore Amanda's phone.
Sorry.
So if Nuvolari was the Hamilton of the 1930s, Josef Brazdil would be me, really. He was a bloke off the street, and I mean pretty much literally.
I thought your name was Scott.
Yeah,
Hi, Joseph.
So I've lost my train of thought.
Sorry, you can edit that out.
Yeah, he was in fact a local garage worker. I don't know if he was a mechanic or just worked there. But anyway, he turned up in a place called Brno, which is where the race was being held, having never ever driven a racing car before, or at least so the sources seem to say. He'd certainly never driven a Grand Prix car, and the Maserati was no easy thing. It was a full-blown Grand Prix car, one of the fastest of the day, and Brno was a monster circuit. I mean, you've been to Silverstone.
I have.
Do you know how long that is around each lap?
Couple of miles.
It's about, I think it's about 3.5, roughly 3.5, very roughly. I haven't checked.
I was also doing the short track.
Oh yeah, no, the full Grand Prix circuit. I think it's between 3.5, 4 miles anyway. Well, Brno was 18 miles around. Not that unusual for the 30s, but 18 miles around, so about 5 times the length. What about Castle Coombs, if you've ever been there? So it was not an easy circuit. It was considered fairly dangerous even at the time. You know, it's the 1930s. There's no barriers. There's no nice gravel traps. If you go off the road, trees, houses, whatever happens to be there, it's a road circuit. So most people didn't actually think this Brazdil guy was going to turn up. But he did. He did. The Maserati transport turned up 2 cars, one for Nuvolari, one for Brazdil. Now, originally, Brazdil wasn't entered in a Maserati. He was entered in the race in an Alfa Romeo.
I've heard of them as well.
Good. Now this suggests that this Maserati deal was very much last minute, and there's a bit of a question of how did he get the money for this car? Because, you know, it's a brand new Grand Prix car. Not going to be cheap. Well, he had a manager. His manager's name was Stefan Marcis. get one. Yeah, no one's going to have heard of him. Now, allegedly, Marcis borrowed this money from his fiancée. Now, we don't know much about his fiancée. Depending on which source you read, we know a little bit, or we know nothing.
Do we know she was a woman?
Yes, the 30s, so yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, they all turned up at the circuit, turned up at Brunei. And the thing is, before the race started, before even practice started, they had a bit of a problem. They ended up in prison, Brazdil and Marcis. And at this point, it's where the story starts to get a bit muddled. Because we don't know why.
Oh, so they could have murdered someone, they could have stole some stuff. But he steal his money from his fiancée? Is that what it was? She didn't agree to it?
No. Probably, at least. Well,
who knows?
I mean, the fiancée was a lady, you see, so she did agree to it, at least as one of the stories goes. She did agree to it, and then she sort of changed her mind.
See? We do that.
As I said, there are two basic stories. The first one says that the fiancée of Marcis and Marcis had a fight just before the race, just before the practice. And they split up. So suddenly she wanted her money back. So she took legal action against the two of them, and they ended up in prison.
But to be fair, in that situation,
Yeah.
she could have her money back, but she would have to give him her engagement ring back.
Yeah, but that's worth probably less than a Maserati.
Depends how good of a Maserati it was. Because if it was like, I don't know, just a wheel or something.
No, it was a car. If it wasn't a car, then what happens later is going to be very, very mysterious. I think it was a whole car.
Probably.
Now, in this version of the story, Brazdil and Marcis got out of prison before practice. And the way they did that is some of the other drivers, the aforementioned Nuvolari, and another driver called Louis Chiron, who was another top driver at the time, essentially petitioned the authorities and said, let them out for the race, let them do the race, and then...
whack them back in.
Yeah,
That seems fair. That seems fair.
Now that's quite important, the fact that they hadn't gotten away with it. They just got away with it temporarily. That's important to what happens later. So that's one version of the story. Now, why the drivers would do this is a little bit odd. You can understand Nuvolari, he's driving the other Maserati, Maserati go, we want the other car in the race. Chiron, I think, drove for Alfa Romeo. Why? But maybe he was just being nice. So that's one version. Now the other version is a bit different. They still go to prison because of financial reasons. But it's not really stated what. It might have been the import duty on the car because they imported it to Czechoslovakia, as it was then.
That's expensive.
And in this version, a mysterious blonde lady with a US accent, who might, or might not have been, the fiancé of Marcis, paid for them to be released. And again, it's the same deal. They're out for practice and the race, then they're back in prison afterwards. So anyway, he's out. So he can drive and practice. Right. Now he asked to do some extra laps before practice. And being the local lad, they went, yeah, go on then. Now, this was second practice on the Friday.
Right.
Now that might or might not be important. As I said, many versions of this story, we don't know which one's right. Most of the sources I found were in Czech, and I had to translate them on the internet, which is never reliable. But anyway, on his first lap around the circuit, he goes out. Now, bearing in mind, I said this is the equivalent of me trying to drive a car, having never had any experience. How well do you think I'm going to do?
Probably not that good, but I reckon this guy was awesome.
You're going for this. So what do you think happens then? What do you think is the point of the story? Do you think he
He wins, I reckon.
You reckon he wins?
I reckon he wins.
Alright. Let's have a look.
Oh god, he's going to fail miserably.
So he goes out. Now, most stories say first lap. Like I said, very modern story. Now he gets about halfway around the circuit. So yeah, big circuit, he's done 9 miles. He's gone a lot of the twisty sections, a lot of the difficult sections. But unfortunately, he doesn't come back. You just...
Aliens.
You go for aliens now?
Aliens. Definitely aliens.
Quite possibly. Probably not. Anyway, it turns out what's happened is he's gotten about halfway around the circus, about 9 miles around. And he gets a section between Zebetin and Ostrovicic. Again, pronunciation is going to be very wrong. Apologies for the unlikely event that anybody who's Czechoslovakian watches this. And he gets to a straight section of circuit between these 2 points. And he's doing about 165 miles an hour. Probably not far off the top speed of the car. 1930s Grand Prix car. Probably about 180 maybe. And so do you still think he wins, by the way?
No, I think aliens have got him now.
Oh, you've gone for aliens, sorry.
Yeah, I'm definitely going for aliens.
Go for aliens.
Because if he's, like, disappeared on the straight, aliens.
He didn't really disappear. What actually happened is he put 2 wheels in a ditch. On a straight section. So, the car just kind of goes, I'm not sure which way, but just to the left. Goes in the ditch. And remember I said 30s Grand Prix seat, no nice barriers, trees. Yeah, he tags a tree, unfortunately, and that just pulls him off the road even further, hits another tree. Car starts going over. Poor Brazdil's thrown out. And he doesn't make it. Broken neck.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a sad story. Maybe I should have warned everyone. Never mind. Yeah, so poor Brazdil is thrown out. Now,
At least he doesn't have to go back to prison.
yeah, but that's just it. He doesn't have to go back to prison. That's important to remember. Because, as I said, he's gotten halfway around the circuit. Like I said, most of the time it said this is on his first lap, but sometimes it said it's on his second lap. It's also sometimes claimed... Do you remember I said it was second practice?
Yes.
And it's sometimes said, certain sources, that he took part in first practice. And, didn't crash. Now, it did say that he came in for some criticism while in first practice, assuming he did go into it. It's not elaborated on. We don't know. Was he dangerous? Was he slow? Anyway. Now, they find the wreck, and poor Brazdil is dead. And they do an investigation. And there's no, rubber marks on the road. He hasn't hit the brakes before going off on the straight. The car obviously is damaged, but there's no mechanical problem. The engine didn't seize, a wheel didn't fall off. Nothing like that happened. He just was going along the straight, having done half the circuit already, and just veers off into a ditch, off he goes. Why would that happen?
Aliens.
You reckon aliens? Now, like I said, this is a normal bloke, essentially. He's not really a racing driver. So, maybe he just screwed up. That'd be the likely thing. But what do you think the investigation decided was the cause?
So, he was driving along the straight. He
Yeah.
was driving. Massive spaceship comes along into the ditch.
No. No, I'd give up on the spaceship idea. Any other ideas? What they might have concluded? Think about the prison.
Oh, he didn't want to go back to prison.
Yeah, so he
Stuffed it.
crashed on purpose. Yeah, the official investigation decided that Brazdil had committed suicide. Presumably because he was in so much financial problems, he didn't want to go back to prison.
I mean, it kind of makes sense.
It does, but...
I don't think I'd go that far
No.
as to commit. I mean, you'd finish the race, wouldn't you? How many laps was the race?
Well, he didn't even get as far as the race. He didn't practice. He didn't even
Oh,
get to
yeah.
official practice.
So yeah, you'd like at least enter the race, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I mean,
And if he became like top end, like driver, then he would have been earned enough money to pay back anyway, wouldn't he?
yeah, because this guy must have had a bit of an ego on him. Because one source I found, and again, none of the sources agree on everything. No two sources agree on every single fact. That's why this is such a weird story. But one of them said that he was confident he was going to win, which is not really very likely, to be honest, because, well, it's deluded, in all honesty. But yeah, why would he kill himself by... You just wouldn't. But the official investigation said he committed suicide.
So in other words, they don't know.
No, chances are, this was just a guy in a car way out of his depth. And maybe he got a bit cocky halfway through the lap, having done alright, and then just went off into the ditch. now it's stopped because the cat is trying to eat the hamster.
Again, we'll let it
Oh, I don't know.
Well, I don't
Probably the
think
best bit.
people want to see Niko playing with the hamster. Not that they can see it anyway.
The cat didn't get to eat the hamster. Hamster's fine. See, there's the hamster. She's fine. There's the cat. Naughty cat.
So is that the end of your story?
That's the end of my story. So, there we go. That is the story. Josef Brazdil. One of the shortest Grand Prix careers. Not quite the shortest. There have been people with shorter ones. But a sad end. A sad end, isn't
Yes.
it? For poor Joseph.
And not abducted by aliens.
Not abducted by aliens. But yeah, potentially the first and, as far as I know, only person to commit suicide by Grand Prix car. Assuming he did. Which
I don't think he did.
no, he didn't.
I think he would have at least, like, finished the race. Or, like, been on the final lap or something.
Well, the thing is, if he'd finished the race and won it, he could have got some prize money and he could have paid it off.
Yes.
It's just interesting that they went for suicide as the official cause.
So I reckon they don't really know.
Yeah.
He probably, like you said, was getting a bit cocky, decided, oh yeah, I can do this, and then lost control of it, and bad things happened.
Yeah. Oh well. That is the story of Josef Brazdil. Thank you for watching. If anyone did. We'll see you again soon. Bye bye.
Bye!